All right, let's dive into some fascinating ideas today. We're exploring ancient philosophy with Iamblichus and Plotinus.
Oh yeah, some big names.
You've given us some seriously heady stuff, excerpts from Iamblichus's On the Mysteries, and selections from Plotinus's Enneads. They were both late ancient thinkers and really got into expanding on Plato's ideas about the soul and the universe.
You could say that. They were both Neoplatonists, which means they were kind of building on and reinterpreting Plato's philosophy.
Right, in their own way.
In their own unique ways, yeah.
Okay, so what are we unpacking from these texts? What's our mission for this deep dive?
Well, today, we're going to try to explore their understanding of the universe, specifically how they saw the whole thing structured from the ultimate source down to our earthly realm.
So like a cosmic ladder with different levels.
Exactly. And the really interesting part is seeing how they place different elements like intellect, soul, even gods and demons within this grand hierarchy. And of course, where we fit into this whole mind-boggling scheme.
All right, I'm ready to climb this cosmic ladder. Where do we even begin?
Well, both Plotinus and Iamblichus start with this ultimate source at the very top.
Okay.
It's the foundation of their whole system. Plotinus calls it the one, or the good.
Right.
While Iamblichus tends to use the term divinity. But they're essentially talking about the same thing.
So what exactly is this one, or divinity? Can we even wrap our heads around it?
It's tricky because both philosophers say this source is beyond our normal ways of understanding.
Okay.
It's not a thing in the way we usually think of things. It's completely self-sufficient.
Okay.
Which means it needs absolutely nothing.
Hold on. If it doesn't need anything, does that mean it doesn't even think? That's a wild concept.
It is. And that's exactly what they argue.
Okay.
See, for them, thinking implies a need.
Right.
Like you think because you need to figure something out to learn something you don't know.
Yeah.
But this source already is everything.
Okay.
It's complete, so it doesn't need to think.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
It's like, if you already have all the answers, you don't need to ask any questions.
Right.
So this one is this ultimate source, doesn't think because it's already perfect and complete.
Right.
But how does everything else come from it?
That's where the next level of this cosmic hierarchy comes in. Intellect.
Okay.
Plotinus uses the Greek term nous.
And this is where we find the forms, right?
That's exactly.
Those perfect blueprints for things like justice, beauty, the perfect circle, even the ideal form of what it means to be human.
Exactly. For Plotinus, the forms aren't separate from intellect. They actually are intellect.
Okay.
It's this realm of pure concepts, eternal and unchanging.
So it's like the ultimate library of perfect ideas.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
And for Plotinus, this is super important for understanding how we as humans are able to think at all.
So we're connected to this realm of perfect thought somehow. But wait, if we're connected to this perfect intellect, why don't we live in a perfect world?
Well, that's where things get a bit more complex.
Okay.
Both philosophers agree that there's another level in this hierarchy, soul.
Okay.
And for both of them, soul occupies a crucial middle ground between the perfect realm of intellect and our messy world of change and matter.
Okay, so soul is like a bridge between those two realms.
Precisely. It's the principle of life that animates everything.
Everything.
Plants, animals, and, of course, us humans.
Us humans!
It has this interesting dual nature.
Okay.
On the one hand, it's connected to intellect.
Right.
To that unity of perfect thought.
Okay.
But on the other hand, it's also the source of individual souls, like you and me.
So a part of me is hanging out with perfect forms.
Right.
But the rest of me is down here dealing with reality.
You got it.
Yeah.
And Plotinus actually suggests that our souls don't fully descend into our bodies.
Oh, interesting.
A part of our soul stays connected to the intellect, to that higher realm.
Interesting. It's like we have a cosmic tether, keeping us linked to that source.
Yeah.
Iamblichus takes this hierarchy in a slightly different direction, though, right?
He does.
He's the one who adds in the gods and demons.
He does. While he agrees with the basic structure of the supreme source, intellect, and soul, he introduces a whole cast of beings between soul and the material world, the gods and the demons.
Okay, so these are the figures we often hear about in Greek mythology, like Zeus and the Olympians?
Not exactly.
Okay.
Iamblichus's gods are pure intellects, completely unchanging and unmoved.
Right.
Think of them as cosmic governors who uphold the order of the universe.
So they govern the cosmos, but they don't get their hands dirty with the day-to-day stuff.
Right.
So who handles that? The demon.
Exactly. The demons are more like intermediaries.
Okay.
They carry out the will of the gods and interact more directly with us. They're still connected to intellect, but they also participate in the world of soul and even the material world.
Okay.
Iamblichus describes them as ministrant beings.
Ministrant being.
They minister to the needs of the universe, ensuring that everything runs smoothly according to the divine plan.
All right, so we've got this cosmic ladder
Mm-hmm.
with the one or divinity at the top,
Yes.
then intellect with the forms,
Yeah.
then soul acting as a bridge, and finally Iamblichus adds in these gods and demons who are like cosmic administrators,
Yeah.
keeping everything running smoothly.
Yep.
It's starting to make sense, but I have to admit I'm still a bit fuzzy on the details of what these demons actually do.
Okay.
Can we unpack that a bit more? What are some concrete examples of their roles and how they interact with us?
Sure. Think of it this way.
Okay, I'm starting to picture this elaborate hierarchy, but it raises a big question for me.
Okay.
We've got this perfect source,
Yeah.
this realm of pure intellect and forms,
Right.
and then our world with all its flaws
Yeah.
and imperfections.
Right.
Why even have a material world at all?
Right.
Is it just some kind of cosmic afterthought?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one that both Plotinus and Iamblichus actually address directly
Okay.
in their writings.
Okay.
The answer, thankfully, is no.
Okay.
They don't see the material world as some kind of mistake or a place of punishment.
Oh, okay.
In fact, they both see it as a necessary
Okay.
and even valuable part of the whole.
Necessary, really. I mean, if everything starts from perfection, why bother with something less than perfect? What's the point of it all?
Well, Plotinus uses this beautiful analogy to explain it.
Okay.
He compares the creation of the material world to an artist who, after achieving complete mastery of their craft, decides to create a smaller, less perfect copy of their masterpiece.
So our world is like a reflection or maybe an echo of that perfect realm.
Exactly. It's a way for the perfection of the source to be expressed in a different way through the diversity and complexity of the material world. And it also provides a unique opportunity for souls to learn and grow in ways that wouldn't be possible in that purely spiritual realm of intellect.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't totally explain why souls would choose to come down here to this less perfect version.
Right.
Especially if they're already connected to that source of perfection.
Right.
I mean, wouldn't it be more blissful to just stay up there in that realm of pure intellect? Why bother with all the messiness and suffering of our world?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's one that both philosophers wrestle with.
Okay.
But one thing they both agree on is that it's not a punishment.
Okay, so we're not being punished.
It's not that we've done something wrong and been banished to this earthly realm as some kind of cosmic timeout.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
But if it's not a punishment, then what is it? Why are we here? What's the purpose of this whole soul school experience?
Well, for Plotinus, it has to do with the very nature of soul itself.
Okay.
He suggests that soul, in its essence, is creative and expressive.
Okay.
It has this inherent drive to give life, to manifest itself.
Right.
Even in less than perfect ways.
So we're here because soul wants to experience the world, to create things, to express itself in all its messy glory.
You could put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Plotinus connects this descent to turning away from the good, from that pure source of unity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like soul wants to experience itself as something separate, as an individual.
Right.
And this creates a kind of longing, a void,
Right.
that needs to be filled through the process of creation and experience.
Ah, I see. So it's like that yearning for something more.
Yeah.
That drive to create.
Right.
That's all part of the soul's journey.
Mm-hmm.
But here's another big question that's always bothered me.
Okay.
If the universe is ultimately ordered by a good and perfect source,
Mm-hmm.
why is there so much suffering in our world?
Yeah.
Where does evil come from?
That's a question that has haunted philosophers for centuries. And it's one that both Plotinus and Iamblichus try to address in their own ways.
Okay.
Plotinus, for example, argues that evil isn't actually a thing in itself.
Okay.
It's not some kind of dark force opposing the good.
So evil isn't like the dark side of the force or some cosmic villain we have to defeat.
Not quite.
Hmm.
Plotinus sees evil as more of a lack, a deficiency.
Okay.
It's inherent in the nature of matter
Mm-hmm.
to be limited
Okay.
and imperfect.
Okay.
So the farther we move away from the perfection of the source,
Right.
the more we encounter this imperfection, this evil.
So it's like evil is a byproduct of being in the material world. The farther we get from that perfect source, the more evil creeps in.
That's a good way to think about it.
Okay.
It's not that evil is intentionally created,
Right.
but rather that it emerges as a natural consequence of the limitations of the material world.
Okay.
Iamblichus offers a different, but equally fascinating perspective.
Yeah, what's that?
He argues that while the gods demand justice, they aren't obligated to act unjustly when we call upon them.
Hold on. So the gods demand justice, but they can choose not to deliver it.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It's tricky. I know
Yeah.
it suggests that their understanding of justice might be different from our own,
Okay.
and that what may seem unfair or unjust to us could be part of a larger cosmic justice
Okay.
that we, in our limited human perspective, can't
Okay.
fully grasp.
Okay, so it's like their actions might appear unjust to us,
Yeah.
but that's only because we're not seeing the whole picture. There might be a bigger plan at play that we're not privy to.
Exactly.
That's a pretty thought-provoking idea.
Yeah.
It makes you question whether our own understanding of justice is always as clear-cut as we think it is.
Exactly. It highlights the limitations of our human perspective
Yeah.
and invites us to consider that there might be forces at work that we don't fully understand.
Yeah.
Now, despite all this talk about evil and suffering, both philosophers offer a glimmer of hope.
Oh, good.
They both believe in the possibility of returning to the source, of remembering our true divine nature.
Ah, so there's a way out of this soul school. We can graduate and go back to that perfect realm. Tell me more.
For Iamblichus, this involves cultivating what he calls divine mania.
Divine mania. Okay, that sounds pretty intense.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean?
Think of it as an ecstatic experience that can lift us out of the mundane, everyday world and connect us with the divine.
Okay.
He believed that by engaging in certain rituals and practices, we could cultivate this connection
Right.
and experience a taste of that higher realm.
Okay.
He called this theurgy,
Theurgy.
which essentially means divine work,
Okay.
using rituals to connect with the divine.
So it's not just about contemplating the divine, it's about actively participating in rituals and practices that can bring us closer to that experience.
Precisely. Iamblichus believed that these rituals weren't just empty gestures.
Right.
They were powerful tools for transforming consciousness
Okay.
and connecting with the divine.
Okay. So rituals are important for Iamblichus.
Yes.
But Plotinus, on the other hand, while he didn't focus as much on ritual, also believed in the possibility of ascending back to the source.
Yeah.
For him, the key was contemplation and purification.
You got it.
So for Plotinus, it's more about inner work, about purifying our thoughts and aligning ourselves with the good through contemplation and meditation.
You got it.
Go.
Both paths ultimately lead back to that source,
Right.
to the recognition of our true nature.
Okay.
But they offer different approaches for achieving that goal.
Okay, I'm seeing how these two philosophers, while they share some core ideas, also have their own unique perspectives on how we navigate this journey back to the source.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I'm still a bit skeptical about this divine mania
Yeah,
thing.
that's true.
It sounds a bit, well, manic.
Right.
How can we be sure that these ecstatic experiences are genuine? And what's the practical value of them? What do they enable us to do? You know, it's amazing to think that even though we're down here in this world, you know, dealing with everyday stuff, a part of us, according to these philosophers, is still connected to that ultimate source of perfection.
It's a beautiful thought.
It really is.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what we're capable of if we could just tap into that connection more fully.
It's the real crux of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Both Iamblichus and Plotinus present us with this incredible possibility.
Oh.
The idea that we can remember our true nature, our connection to that divine spark within.
It's like we've been given this cosmic treasure map, but the real treasure isn't buried out there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's hidden within us.
Precisely. And the journey isn't about achieving some far-off state of enlightenment.
Right.
It's about remembering something we already possess.
Right.
Something that's always been there, waiting to be rediscovered.
That's a really powerful idea.
Yeah.
But it also raises some practical questions for me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if we buy into this idea that we're all connected to this source of goodness and perfection, how does that change the way we live our lives?
Right.
You know, does it change the way we interact with others?
Yeah.
Does it give us a different perspective on the challenges we face?
Those are excellent questions.
Yeah.
And I think they get to the heart of why these philosophical systems are still relevant today.
Yeah.
They're not just abstract theories.
Right.
They're invitations to live differently, to see the world and ourselves through a new lens.
Right.
For Plotinus, this meant emphasizing contemplation and purification.
Right.
Cultivating inner stillness.
Okay.
And aligning our thoughts and actions with the good.
So it's not enough to just have this intellectual understanding.
Exactly.
We have to actually put it into practice in our daily lives.
Exactly. It's about embodying these principles.
Right.
Making them a living reality.
Yeah.
And that's where Iamblichus's emphasis on ritual theurgy comes in. It's about actively engaging with the divine, using practices to cultivate that connection and bring those higher energies into our lives.
So for Iamblichus, it's not enough to just think about the divine.
Yeah.
We have to actively participate
in
rituals that can help us experience that connection more directly.
That's right.
Right.
He saw rituals.
Yeah.
Not as empty gestures.
Right.
But as powerful tools.
Yeah.
For transforming consciousness.
Okay.
And bridging the gap between the human and the divine.
Okay, so it's not just about thinking, it's about doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Of course, the specific rituals and practices might vary.
Right.
But the underlying principle is the same.
Right.
It's about taking an active role in our spiritual development.
Okay.
Not just passively waiting for enlightenment to strike.
It makes a lot of sense. It's like if we want to access that treasure within, we can't just sit around and hope it magically appears.
Right.
We have to actively dig for it, using the tools and practices that resonate with us.
Yeah.
And that's where things get really exciting because it means there's a whole world of spiritual practices out there to explore.
Absolutely. And the beauty of it is that there's no one right path.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
It's about finding what resonates with you.
Right.
What helps you connect with that divine spark within.
Yeah. This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
We've explored this intricate hierarchy of the universe. We've grappled with the nature of good and evil.
Yeah.
And even touched on the possibility of returning to the source.
That's right.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But it's definitely left me with a lot to think about.
Me too. And that's the power of philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It challenges us to question our assumptions.
Right.
To expand our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Well, and for anyone who's feeling inspired to learn more, I highly recommend checking out the full texts of Iamblichus's On the Mysteries and Plotinus's Ennids.
Yeah, good idea.
They're dense reads, but they're full of incredible insights that can really deepen your understanding of these ideas.
You might be surprised by what you discover within those ancient words.
Yeah.
You might even find yourself experiencing a little bit of that divine mania that Iamblichus talks about.
Now that's an adventure I wouldn't mind embarking on.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.